Hello and welcome back to the Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming, and I'm one of your army of hosts, Ambassador Billy.
I am Ambassador Chris.
And I am Ambassador Michael.
And welcome to our corner of the internet where we have news about stuff. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Everyone sounds like a robot in my ear right now. So it's either I'm in the Matrix or I'm having a psychotic break. Either way, it's better than just doing nothing. So
You're in the Matrix, dude.
I'm glad
like
it's
it
the
might be
Matrix
your
and not a
connection.
psychotic break. What'd you say?
I said I think it might be your connection because I'm hearing Billy
Who is
just
this?
fine.
Who is speaking right now?
I am Android
Right.
17.
Oh, Android 17, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm wonderful. Gonna kill Kakarot, all that.
Android
usual.
17 sounds like a tool bag.
He kind of is. Anyways, so we have a Patreon if you would like to support us and, help us starving artists. We have some cool perks over there and goodies. For example, we have early access to shows. You can get your comments, questions, and or concerns read on the show, which we haven't been doing because our patron over there doesn't want to ask any questions. It just doesn't feel the need. And you can get exclusive content. We actually just put up our exclusive content for June, all about why Adam believes there should be a new Godzilla fighting.
Did you mean July?
No, I meant June.
He meant July.
I meant June.
Why is it?
Anyways,
Okay.
we post it in the middle of the month. Is when we post the Patreon exclusive.
The
It
middle
goes live
of,
on the
middle of the previous
15th.
one?
No, yeah, it's July. Sorry, I don't even know what month it is.
I'm
Apparently.
like, I'm so confused.
We're all a little
Like,
bit
what is
lost.
I
happening?
think we're still in June. Apparently, whatever.
Android
no,
17
you are
is
correct,
definitely
and
a
I am
tool.
wrong. My brain is definitely broken. Anyways,
Right.
yeah, so you can get cool stuff over there. You can get access to the content, the exclusive content for $1 a month, so super cheap. And yeah, you can get that Patreon.
Okay.
Awesome. So let's get into the updates, announcements, and other miscellaneous news. So let's kick us off with the first article then, Chris.
Don't tell me what to do, but okay. Kotaku writes a good article, and while that's not necessarily news, Kotaku writer Cecilia D. Anastasio has written a new article regarding a study into the sexualization of women in games. It's a really well-balanced, well-written piece. Kotaku always puts out, all of Kotaku's writers, very talented, always put out some really great stuff. The gaming community tends to give a lot of crap to the games press at times for things that they can write, but when an exceptional piece comes out of the woodwork, we really should highlight it and not just talk about bad news, talk about some good news as well.
Agreed.
Hey, Billy, you want to take us
And-
to our second point? I'm sorry.
Don't tell me what to do. Okay. Bethesda releases Doom 1, 2, and 3 on current gen. Whoop, whoop. So the company released the games on all current generation hardware, including, drumroll please, the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
So Doom 1 and 2 at the time of launch on Switch required users to log into their Bethesda account to play. Doom 3 also had this login required to access certain features and content. And Bethesda has since come out to say that the login was supposed to be optional for those in the Doomslayer Club, and they are working to patch that issue so that it's no longer a problem. But other than that, 3
Yes,
games
but
on
there,
consoles.
this isn't all good. People were saying that the reverse compatibility versions of these games are no longer for purchase.
Oh, I see
and,
what you mean.
uh,
Yeah, I see what you
also-
Are you talking about the BFG
Yeah.
collection on PS3 and all that?
I'm talking about
Is that what you're referring
the
to?
Xbox One backwards compatibility, I believe it was.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
And
Because they were available on. back
yeah,
compat.
it's really weird.
Oh, okay.
Why do you think it's weird?
Okay.
So they can sell the new ones. And another thing, Doom 1 and 2 required you to log into that account once, and the third one required you to log in every time, which means that if you weren't connected to the internet, you couldn't play Doom 3.
Yeah,
Pain in the ass.
it's all messed up. I've also saw a bug earlier today of somebody who has the game basically lock up anytime the Switch goes into sleep mode, which is pretty frequently if you're playing in handheld.
Yeah.
So,
God, I love my
they got
Switch.
some bugs they need to fix it.
Okay.
there over at
Yeah.
Bethesda.
Sorry, I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more. Mike, go ahead and.
Okay. The Xbox One home screen is getting another update because it really needs it. The update comes to make the home screen more sleek looking and also to remove Cortana. The traditional voice commands are still going to be in the OS, but are being updated. However, Cortana will no longer be available on the console, baked into the OS, but will be cloud-based. There will be a Cortana app that you can use to power the console, adjust the volume, launch games, and capture screenshots. So it's still there, but it's not there. It's very confusing.
It's kind of like if you have like a Microsoft launcher on an Android phone, for example, but you don't install Cortana, like the mic feature, it's kind of like a quasi Cortana feature within the within the launcher itself. That's what they kind of mean. It's like you'll still be using Cortana, but it just won't be kind of it's not like going to be its own installed thing on the console anymore. There won't be any kind of
this kind of comes from an early issue too. One of the issues the Xbox One had with its launch was that, you know, a lot of people just wanted a game console and they were targeting it as like this full home living room box. And while I guess it is possible to do all that stuff, it has that HDMI in so you can watch cable. That's how I have my cable hooked up because I don't have enough HDMI ports.
Right.
But I'm glad that they're kind of like, you know, they put Cortana in there. They're like, yeah, you can do everything with Cortana now. But it's like the hand motions that you used to be able to use to. Yeah. It sounds cool on paper, and you think it'd be like a Star Trek-esque world that it would be used, but it just wasn't used. I'm very glad they're removing it. It was
9 times.
It used to be novel. Yeah. It used to be novel, but it's not anymore. Like it has a lot. That novelty has long kind of been like. I mean, I would say there's probably like better ways that they could apply it. I'm not gonna be naive to think that when they did it first time round, like it was the best way they could have done it. But I do think like the novelty, people aren't really like about that novelty anymore. Like in all honesty, it just doesn't have the same, you know, kind of next generational kind of feel. Like you don't think, oh yeah, imagine just. I mean, it's cool. Like you said, on paper, it's cool thinking, you know, you can swipe around the user interface with your hands and you can do this and you can do that.
It sounded very cool at first, but it was more annoying personally because it would activate and then all of a sudden, if your hand wasn't moving when you were laying down, your screen would just go berserk and look like it was possessed.
I remember that. Yeah. That was your major complaint with your Xbox.
Yeah, I used to get so mad. I'd be laying in bed and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, like when I was like watching Netflix or something, and my home screen's just going absolutely whack because it caught my hand as it was hanging off the bed. And then when I went and moved my hand, turned around, it just got really mad.
Freaked out.
So, PS
Cortana sucked.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
negativity. PS4 firmware 7.0 is now starting in beta, as previously reported. The update will include the option to have a 16-person party if you want to know what it's like to be in a crowded Starbucks. However, there is a new feature being added that many will enjoy. The system will no longer need to restart for every single system software update. You may still need to restart your system for software updates, but it's more likely to reduce the number of times users will need to restart their console. I one time had to restart my console 4 times
to install an update.
Yeah, it kept going like, "Hey, this needs a restart. This needs a restart." And I was like, "Am I am I experiencing a glitch in the Matrix?"
This is terrible.
Right. It's like, you need to like first time you restart it and then it it downloads the update. Then you restart it and it installs the update. Then you restart it and it verifies the update. Then you restart it and it applies the update.
You know what this makes me think of? Nothing drives me more nuts than when I am downloading something on Xbox and it just says, okay, downloading and then installing. And I'm like, great. And then I go over to PlayStation, verifying, preparing to install, installing, downloading, checking licenses.
Yeah.
Installing.
Oh my God.
Installing queue is like 3 hours. Oh my gosh. I would. It was just preparing to download. Do you remember? Preparing to download made me want to drive a screwdriver into my temple.
Right. Have you guys seen the whole seen how long it takes for the whole copying new files?
Yes. That. I hate that.
Yep.
And that's what updates. Whenever a game gets updated, copying new files takes forever.
Yeah. It's something weird in the Orbis OS. Like it's just some weird. this is going to be a minor complaint compared to the things we're talking about now, but I could also be wrong about this because I have shitty power, so sometimes my power just goes out like real quick.
I thought you said shitty powers, and it made me think like you're a lame superhero. I have shitty powers. Sorry.
No, but he
he's the X-Man.
So like my power goes out sometimes like pretty quickly. Like it'll just flash basically. Sometimes it flashes so quick that like nothing shuts off. Like my systems don't even shut off. That's how quick it is.
Yeah.
So anyways, I turn on my console, my PS4 specifically, pretty frequently, and it'll be like, update was installed. And I'm like, I thought I had to restart. So I don't know if like my system just like gets shut off, and when it turns back on, it's like, oh, hey, we installed the update for you. But I could have swore this was like already a thing. That's why I was kind of confused by it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so yeah, but it's like who knows what's happening this and that. But
We
I mean,
never know.
based on this news item, that's very good though. The fact that it's going to eliminate at least a ridiculous amount of restarts that are required. It's like, last week, was it last week or the week before? I can't remember exactly, Michael. But like the whole quality of life, it's just making the experience on the console a lot more pleasant.
Yeah, I don't want my console to be bothersome. So
right. And speaking of things becoming more pleasant, Drive Club VR, and Drive Club Bikes finally gets put into its grave. PlayStation has announced that the game will be shutting down on March 31st, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Sorry, I'm trying to hold back the laughter because I said in the spirit of positivity.
Before you were like, it's a good thing this game's going to die. It's finally being put out of its misery.
Right. You will no longer be able to access any of the online features on any of the games, and you will be able to access some of the features offline and continue to use items bought in Season Pass. But for the most part, as anyone with a brain cell would confirm, the game is dead.
Yeah,
it's donezo.
Yeah, the primary function of Drive Club was to be an online racing game that got botched. Clearly, they wanted a Forza competitor, and it didn't work out for them. So.
And then they tried it with GT Sport, and I don't know if that worked out.
I'm not trying to sound offensive,
but people are pissed.
But I don't know anyone who consistently plays Forza. I don't hear anyone. Daryl plays a lot of Forza? Okay, because I never hear anyone talk about Forza. I figure it must sell because they keep making more.
Yeah, it sells pretty well. Plus, it's in Game Pass now, so it's doing even better, I think. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm glad Drive Club's gone. No offense to Drive Club, but they shut that studio down, so it doesn't surprise me that it's gone.
I'm pressing F on my keyboard to pay respect.
Oh, please do. another PS4 IP dead. Great. So moving on to Sumo Digital has teamed up with 2K for 2 new projects. Sumo Digital, who worked or helped work on Hitman 2 and Crackdown 3, has announced that they are partnering with 2K Games to make 2 undisclosed projects. Sumo has also mentioned that the development will be handled at its Sheffield studio and Red Kite Games, which it bought in February of this year.
I love some of these game studio names. I love them because people can just name their game studio whatever they want. It's so great. Like Hello Games.
Right.
What is that? Red Kite? What is this?
What kind of branding
you could technically name your studio We Ship Broken Games Limited.
Don't say that. And EA is gonna get a hard on.
I would name mine Not Gonna Microtransaction You Studios.
Right.
LLC.
No one will be interested in publishing your game.
And everyone's uniform will be like wearing a trench coat with like sunglasses and a really suspicious hat. So that's like, no, we're not gonna do that thing. Don't worry, and then we're gonna monetize the shit out of you. Okay,
we're gonna pull a
sneaky... and then call it a surprise mechanic.
Yeah, and then call it a surprise mechanic. Surprise! You're broke.
Give me your money.
We want your money. Yeah.
So moving on, Monster Farm or Rancher for us in the West is getting a port. Koei Tecmo, do I win?
Yes. Correct.
Yes. Dang. Koei Tecmo revealed the first game is getting a port this year. However, we got no information about what systems it is launching on, when exactly it is launching, or if it is coming to the West at all.
Real quick, I don't know if any of you are familiar, but this game in particular, the way you used to collect monsters was by inserting discs, which is clearly not something we do anymore. on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested.
Wait, did you say discs?
Discs? Yes.
Oh, sorry. I wanted.
What
to,
did
yes,
you?
Sorry.
So
What did you think he said?
That's. I mean, we got to keep
something
this PG-13
phallic in
Yeah,
nature.
yeah.
Those aren't games. That's just called cheating.
Yes. So I'm interested to see how that works out for them, but we'll have to see.
Right.
Anyways, Billy, go ahead and get us on the next one.
Cheater.
So, in the spirit of things coming to the West or not, Mario Maker 2 will now allow you to have 64 courses. That's funny because it's got nothing to do with
why
things
did you
coming to the
say
West.
that?
Sorry. Yeah,
That makes no sense.
He tries to segue. He wants to segue really hard.
Who let this guy in front
one
of
day
the
it's gonna
microphone?
work.
That would be me. That was my decision. Which
sorry,
is really more of a reflection of me than it is Billy. So
let's take two this one. Okay, take two. So yeah, Mario Maker 2 will now allow you to have 64 courses. 64, wow. Following controversy that Nintendo has been deleting courses of Mario Maker 2, the company has announced that it will now allow you to upload 64 courses per account instead of the previously allowed 32. So doubling, quick maths. Nintendo has not mentioned or talked about the levels that have been mysteriously deleted, which means that they could stay deleted forever, my guy.
yeah.
I mean, you probably have a
weird thing.
saved version of them on your own console, though.
Yeah, I would think that. Yeah.
By the way, did you say controversy?
He did. Controversy.
That's my Britishism.
Is that actually
if I
it?
say?
Oh, I thought you were.
controversy,
I thought you just misspoke. I'm sorry. Now
No.
I feel like a dude.
No, he wasn't trying to be cheeky.
I thought he was
He's
something
being
tricky. Man, I'm not looking good this episode. I'm saying horrible things to not so horrible people.
You hurt me every time.
I try and love, but all I ever do is cause pain.
Wonderful.
Mike, speak.
Great. So, this is a fun piece of news for us in particular. Blizzard has announced its new hero, Sigma. Coincidentally, the new gravity manipulating astrophysicist named Sigma, sharing way too many similarities with Chris here, has been announced. Sigma is described as a barrier-focused tank character. I just thought that was fun because he shares a lot of stuff.
He says this because I am in school for physics, and my online alias for most accounts is Sigma Not. So I don't think he looks like me. But
no, he doesn't. I believe he is bald, which you are not.
Yeah, that could be.
I mean,
he says with the razor in his hand.
You could, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh
so,
my god.
Apparently he's going to be a tank character. There are two games that I play consistently, like almost every day, and that's either Destiny or Overwatch. Most recently, it's the latter. I play a lot of Overwatch, and I'm excited to try out the new characters. I main an annoying Mei.
I don't know anything about Overwatch, so
Well,
you're speaking over my head.
Should play it because it's very fun. I love it so
That's
much.
what people tell me.
Chris, Overwatch, more like over Michael's head, right? Sorry.
Okay, so to the news. Joy-Con drift continues to be a problem for Nintendo. No shit, it's a problem for me too. Earlier this month, a Reddit post has popped up and gained notoriety about the Joy-Con having severe drifting issues with its Joy-Con. Drifting, if you're unaware, is when the motor at the end of the stick starts to slowly be moved off from center so that its 0 point is no longer 0 and it registers movement. Sometimes it's super severe to the point where you have to constantly pull to the right in order to have your character not flinging itself to the left. Other times it will just every once in a while screw up your game. That's what happens with me when I'm playing Minecraft. All of a sudden I'll randomly look down and it's pretty annoying.
That's terrible.
Nintendo has received a class action lawsuit filed against it due to how widespread the issue appears to be. Nintendo, in response, has told its customer service representatives to stop charging customers to fix their Joy-Cons and refund those who have paid for repairs already. A Nintendo UK representative told Eurogamer that, quote, a statement was released by Nintendo America acknowledging known issues with Nintendo Switch Joy-Con controllers. Our Nintendo UK process remains the same, to provide recommended troubleshooting and advise repair if unsuccessful, end quote. So, I spent $150 on custom Joy-Con, and they don't qualify for that. So that's poopy.
Yeah, because Nintendo is like, no, you modded these, so we're not going to help you.
If
even though it's
modding
our
means
fault.
I took off the shell and had someone paint it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Don't you just love it when big corporations are so understanding and just forgiving and
Yeah,
just they just do
out of the
they
goodness
just
of
help you
their
out.
heart. Yeah, not
Right.
because they're going to get sued.
Right.
Yeah, I don't look. This has been an issue. When I first started experiencing it, I thought my Joy-Con were just broken. Like pretty much everybody in response to this has been like, I thought I was the only person this happened to. Like we all just collectively thought it was just like a thing that eventually happened, like the PS4 joystick breaking and ripping and tearing apart.
Yeah.
Like, we just thought it was like a wear and tear thing, but no, it's just a default in the sticks.
Yeah.
Or not a default,
Which is a
the
shame.
defect.
It's a shame because these controllers, I'm not saying that, the IR sensor in them is kind of cool and being able to read amiibo is kind of cool. And,
Right.
they're pretty well designed. The Switch in general is light years ahead of design from anything Nintendo's made in the past. It is
Agreed.
definitely a very modern console. But I think it's obnoxious that they are charging $80
Right.
for a pair of
Per set.
controllers with
Yeah.
this. Yeah, $80
Jeez.
for a
20
pair of
to
Joy-Con.
$30 more.
Yeah.
Per
I will say
controller.
I will say this. This kind of news really does drive people towards getting the Switch Pro controller, which, might I add, is a fantastic.
It is.
literally one
It's
of
a
the best.
very
One of the
great
best
controller.
controllers.
It's very lightweight. The battery lasts forever. The rumble is really nice, very light, which I really like. It's a very well designed controller. Feels a lot like a 360 controller, but better.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree.
Yes.
But
It's probably
that's
the
not
best
the
one out
point,
right now.
though. I doubt that was in their mind, and it better not have been in their mind. Hey, we'll give them these Joy-Con controllers, but hey, let's make them defective so that they have to go buy a Pro controller.
No, nobody. I don't think that's the thing. As we know, remember when the Switch first came out and there was the left Joy-Con issue? It was like a piece of foam was off or something like that.
Oh
Yeah,
I
there
think-
was something interfering with the signal.
Right. So there's been two major issues with these controllers, and I have correct me if I'm wrong, but the Switch Mini is pretty similar, right? Or the Switch Lite is similar in terms of design. Like
Yeah,
the Joy-Con thing is pretty similar.
I don't see. I mean, it's kind of ironic
I'm
to
not-
say this, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, don't fix it. But what if this is just me just throwing it out, because now I can't imagine that they're gonna look at this and be like, well, shit, we should probably look at the Switch Lite and make sure that this doesn't happen, because it's gonna be a way bigger issue if it happens with those.
Yeah, I'm sure they've already got a whole bunch of these things already out of
Yeah.
production. It'd be
That's what I'm
quite a
saying.
pretty
I'm
penny
sure it's
to
gonna be
Yeah.
pull
a
those back in.
huge
I'm
thing.
sure that they'd put out a statement or something saying that, like, if your Switch Lite has the same issues, we'll take care of it as well, kind of thing.
Right. But it's also a different, I think that's a different issue in and of itself, because at least with the Switch, you just send the Joy-Con in. You have to send your whole console in at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Let me just say this, right? Every bit of hardware that comes out, whether it's made by Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, Huawei, whatever it is, right?
Right.
Whatever the technology is, games, otherwise. Now, there's a chance that it could be defected, right? I had, some time ago, I bought a laptop which had like a stylus with it and whatnot. It was fantastic. It worked really well, but there was a problem with the network adapter. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't work. Everything else was absolutely perfect. And then I have to take it back into the store, get it replaced with another one, go through all of these obstacles and hurdles.
Right.
Now, that problem wasn't like a widespread thing, right? So it's like, okay,
It was a one-off.
you can take that as a defect. Right, it's a one-off thing. But then when it's happening to so many, like, my guy, that is bad. Like, that is
Right.
bad PR. That's bad. That's bad by any stretch of the imagination. Like, in any way you kind of look at it, it's
Right.
bad publicity for a company. It's like you release a product which you should have tested rigorously before release. And yes, sometimes defects can slip through, like what I said with my laptop.
Right.
But if there's that many big, if there's serious problems like that, and like you said, if it happens with the Switch Lite, you're sending your whole console.
Right.
That's
Which
like
is totally
you're not
different.
able to get like if I have a problem with my Joy-Con on my Switch, I could send the Joy-Con in and I could still play with my Pro controller. I'm set.
Right.
But when if it happens with a Switch Lite, then
Good luck.
you
Your
know
whole
you're kind of
console's out of commission for at least a month, maybe 2, at that point.
oh yeah. No, and imagine if Switch is your primary or like your only
Right.
gaming platform.
You would be upset about that. Plus, if that happens, there's a good chance you just get a new one or a refurbished one, or they wipe it. There could be all sorts of problems with that. What I
Oh yeah.
want to head back to just for a second is that lawsuit, because that's probably gonna go through, and I don't think I think they'll have to ride it unless they decide to settle it outside of court, because it's even though they're offering refunds, this is the second major defect known in that controller. And the first one is different than this one. The foam is different by it being something that just kind of loosened over time or whatever, or just was a manufacturing defect. This is an extended playtime thing, which is something you do. Like, that's something you test, Yeah.
Like you stress test
Yeah.
the system that you're about to release.
Right. You don't just not test that stuff. So it's got to be something that they at least were like looking at the data and were like, okay, this is an acceptable amount of controllers that will be defective. But I don't think they also expected the Switch to be as popular as it is, and the attach rate to the Switch is pretty high. I don't know anybody that owns a Switch that doesn't own 2 sets of controllers, 2 Joy-Cons.
I don't know. I think that they expected it to be pretty popular because we've seen their sales numbers. We saw what they expected. They were expecting more units to be sold. They were expecting, I think, 20 million, and then they had to lower it down to 17 million.
Yeah, but that was this year. That wasn't in the first year, right?
I think it was the first. I'm not sure.
I'm just asking in terms of trying to get into their headspace of when this thing was in development. You know what I mean? Like before launch, when they're like, okay, well, if we sell whatever 10 million units, maybe we have 100,000 defective. That's not really that's a small amount. Like, it's a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of people. But in terms of them, demographically speaking, they're like, that's not that much. We can deal with that. That's 0.1% or something,
Yeah.
So we could just make that up. We'll fix them, whatever. So, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't know if they were necessarily prepared for this. So I'm interested to see what comes of this. It's probably going to be a while before we get an answer on that. But it's now it's something that people are cautious about. They're like, why should I buy new Joy-Cons if they're going to break? Like, why should I spend $80 on these things if I know they're going to break? At least if you were like, hey, we fixed these newer iterations, we're going to pull all the current ones or whatever, or we'll give you a better warranty or whatever on the old ones if you still want to buy them, or reduce them in price or something, Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't care if they are replacing it or repairing it for free. Like, that's not the point either.
Right.
You can't just release a broken product and say, hey, we'll repair it for free. It's like,
that's kind of Anthem.
That's kind of how it works.
That's kind of how it works, right? But you don't release a product knowing it's you don't release a product. I mean, I don't want to say knowing it's broken, because I want to believe that they didn't know that it would be this bad,
right?
Because I don't know, that seems a little better. It makes it a little bit softer. But because could you imagine, like, if they knew it was going to be this bad and yet they still release it thinking, hey, we'll kind of spin the whole, we will replace it and repair it for free as good PR.
Right. It's
like, that's just really, like, I mean, it, like Chris said, I think Chris just said this now, it gives a lot of pause, when it comes to getting new Joy-Cons. Like, this is what I was saying, like, people literally just opt for the Pro Controller because it's a tried and true format. None of that. I mean, it's got motion, it's got the gyro in it,
right.
But like, in terms of just tried and true, simple kind of controller format that they're used to on the PlayStation or on the Xbox, or just something that they've seen before. It's just like, I'm just going to stick with that now.
Right, but even then, you can't play every game with it, unfortunately.
Exactly, you can't play Pokemon Let's Go with the Pro Controller,
or Mario Party.
Yeah.
So it's something we gotta. I think we should keep an eye out, but I think we hit all the points we need.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, on to some lighter, more positive news, and this is something very dear to my heart. Media Molecule wants to work with small developers to make games inside of dreams. So a job posting on their website gives insight into what the developer is thinking. Now, in quotes, this isn't just normal outsourcing. It is much more about finding teams that want to collaborate with us on content for dreams. We are a little light on the requirements as this is an exploratory call out, but needless to say, experience with creating dreams is required. Creating with dreams, is required, end quote.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite interesting, because one of the barriers, I think, to like game development for smaller kind of, I'd say, like, as you say, the starved artist kind of devs who don't really have a lot, penniless devs, let's say, like they want to have more accessible tools and things that are easy, that make it easier to create really nice looking things. I've seen some ridiculous things made in dreams.
Right.
I saw Final Fantasy VII remake. I saw literally a remake with like different models, but more or less the gameplay was there, and it was made in dreams.
Right.
And some other stuff, really, someone remade they kind of did a model of the PlayStation 4 controller in dreams, and it looked really nice. And I'm just like, there's so much that's possible with this. I'm all for like really cool tools being made to let people achieve their dreams.
Right.
Like, that's just, I mean, if we're gonna get
Were
really
you going
kind of
for a
corny
pun?
here, yeah.
Maybe he was. I didn't acknowledge.
Oh, finally, I got one. Finally. I mean, I was trying to go for a segue the whole show, and finally I got a pun without even realizing. That's awesome.
There you go. I don't know if Chris has any. Do you have any opinions on dreams in general, or anything about this? Because I have thoughts, but I figured I'd let you.
I've never done anything involving dreams, so I will yield this to you, Michael.
Okay. As far as I'm aware, in our little group here in Ambassadors, I'm the only one who's played Dreams. I bought it out of. It speaks to me in particular. I like that kind of creative, artsy kind of stuff. So this isn't a surprise at all. I guess I'll put it this way. It's probably the cheapest game engine you can find. If you're unaware of how other game engines work, Unity, I think, is free, and so is Unreal, but you have to pay royalties based off of game sales. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, so with Unity and Unreal, they have like a threshold. If your game makes more than, I think it's 100,000 a year, like revenue, then you have to start. Then there's like a system in place which makes you pay certain commissions to percentage to Unity and Epic. But other than that, it should be for small time devs. It's more or less, But you have to have like the splash screen and all of that stuff like made with Unity. Like you wouldn't need to use that if you say had the pro subscription in Unity, which costs freaking lot of money.
Yeah, it's expensive.
But yeah,
these tools are expensive. Is ultimately where I was getting to the point of, and Dreams is different from those in terms of the fact that it gives you a platform of people who are actively seeking different experiences, and also it's very niche. Don't get me wrong. Like the things I've experienced in Dreams are like, the best way I can describe it is they're a lot like PS2 games. Like, those PS2 games that are just like very generic and they just have like like a Nickelodeon skin slapped over it or something like that.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying.
You guys kind of get where I'm going, I think, with that. Like, I've played games like that, and then I played one that was it was about a dog, and it was really good. Like, you just played as a dog. It was like a silly little game where you just went through these 3D. It was kind of like 3D Mario, like Mario 64, where you go through these weird levels. But anyways, it's for $40, being able to create and kind of promote your stuff within there, and maybe have the Dreams team reach out and put you in that playlist. Is a really great entry point. I don't know really what they're gonna do with this, because like as I play it, I'm like, this is great for streams. That's really what it's great for.
You know what? I don't know if you guys remember, there was a game on Xbox I think it launched with the Xbox One when in 2013. It was called, or came out around that time. It was called Project Spark.
Yes, we talked about it.
Yeah,
we were very upset about it dying because they were putting Conquer back in there.
Yeah, I think we're at a time now. We're at a position in terms of like gaming and the gaming community and the game development community where like game developers or indie devs, they're the new rock stars.
Right.
So like there's so many people coming out of the woodwork now as, you know, junior developers or indie developers or like one man team or one woman teams or small teams, 2 people, 3 people, whatever it is. I mean, myself and my partner with Tiger Studios, we're just me and him, and we're working Unity right now.
Right.
So you know, it's quite. I think the timing for Dreams is perfect now. I think back in 2013, people was not very much on that wave kind of thing. They weren't thinking the same way as, you know, I don't know, game development didn't seem as accessible, I think, back then as it does now. I mean, there was obviously still Unity, there was still Unreal Engine, and they had really cool features, but it still felt like something like a very far out idea for someone who'd never done anything to do with game development before, like to dabble in. But with Dreams, like it's kind of got the facade of a game. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like it's released. It's like a game. It's coming out on a games platform like the PlayStation 4. You can start it, run like you'll start it up. It feels like you're playing a game, but you're actually able to create something with it. I think it's about the timing. Really, it's like it's the same thing that I say about pretty much anything in the games industry. If it releases at the right time, it will be super wildly successful. But a really good thing releasing at the wrong time, it kind of dooms it to failure, and then it gives a lot of people pause about doing the same thing later. But I'm glad the developers of Dreams, you know, they put the faith in the project like that, and
Right.
I want to see it take off even more. I want to see like this whole outsourcing kind of agenda come into real fruition, because I mean, yourself, Mike, you know, Chris, if he ever gets interested in it, myself and other people, like just think about how all of your creativity can like come to the screen.
Right.
You know, literally, it's a dream come true.
Yeah. Pun intended, I assume there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just go 2 points and then give you a chance to rebuttal those real quick if you guys have any interest in doing so, and then I'll move on to the next one. I think there was one thing I wanted to say in response to what you said. I don't think that socially we were at the point where we are now with game developers, where we interact more individualistically. It's like just when we saw the personalities break out of the news industries, you know, specifically in the games industries. You know how they kind of broke off and they became their own staple. That's kind of what we're seeing with game devs as well, is that people are more attached now to a single developer or single personality within a development studio, which allows for this sort of thing you're talking about. And then the second thing is that I think ultimately Sony didn't cancel this because the proprietary technology that Dreams allows them to have is a very, very powerful engine. And they're like, well, we can just put it out for now, and then maybe we can use it for other projects in the future because of just how powerful this engine is. But they've been making this thing for like 6 years, you know? So maybe they license it out to some people, because like they licensed out the Decima engine to Kojima. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they'll see where, I mean, again, Sony is a business, and if they see profit in outsourcing it to other companies, then they will definitely do that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the social element around game development. Like we're so much more invested in the people behind the company, I think,
than we are,
you know what I'm saying?
Companies
it's like,
now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's no longer about, oh my God, Ubisoft. We're now thinking, you know, I really like this Ashraf Ismail fellow who kind of was a game director for Assassin's Creed Origins, or I quite like this Alex Hutchinson fellow who did this game, or you know, we're more familiar with names now rather than the big, you know, monolithic block that is a game development company.
Exactly. So, but I think we pretty much nailed those points, and I want to make sure Chris doesn't fall asleep. So I'm going to move on to the next one.
I'm not falling asleep. I am lurking. I'm like the person in a group chat who never says anything, but I'm there. I'm reading.
I appreciate that, because I know sometimes I'll be like, Chris, and you'll be like, excuse me, what? I was daydreaming.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to just make sure you're attentive. That's all. Anyways, let's move on to more Sony news, because of course. So after skipping E3, Sony has announced that it will be at Gamescom 2019 and Tokyo Game Show. So 2 different conference or trade shows. So after skipping E3 due to stating they did not really have any big announcements to make, and that the state of plays would kind of substitute the conference to give out more information throughout the year, like the release dates for their upcoming titles, the company will be at these other trade shows. At this time, there are no plans for any conferences. However, the company will present on both show floors. What games the company will demo is still left to be announced. I assume you'll see Death Stranding and probably Dreams as well.
Most likely.
So,
Yeah.
one last thing on Dreams. They released Dreams like a month after Days Gone. Like, or like right around the time of Days Gone, which was super weird. But anyways,
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I think you're probably only going to get State of Plays real quick this year, and then you'll get PSX. I think PSX this year is going to happen, and I think they're actually just going to be smart enough about it to be like, all right, we need to make an announcement, because they traditionally make their announcements for next gen in February. I think putting it 1 or 2 months ahead isn't going to hurt them. So I think at PSX, they come out and they go, here's PS5. Here's all the stuff we've been working on for PS5. Here's the rest of the announcements for stuff that we can, release dates and stuff like that. And I think that's probably what you'll see them close out the year with, because they're not launching. They said PS5 is not coming out before fiscal year 2021, right? Something like that. So like
yeah,
March.
something around that. Yeah.
So
something
like April
like
or
that.
something.
I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings when it comes to Sony. Even the games conferences, I try not to get too excited, because I never know if what I want's going to be there, and I don't want to hype myself up.
That's fair.
And after Sony has not been my best friend over the past few years, especially
Agreed.
with their huge thing with crossplay and this and that. And I'm not too big on following Sony. I'm just going to let it play out. If something cool happens, awesome. But as far as I'm concerned, as soon as Shadowkeep comes out and cross save is enabled, I am moving to the Xbox.
Yeah. I mean, I respect Sony's decision to not be at E3 if they didn't have anything to show. And to be fair, it's like, how long are you gonna? I mean, if they were there and they showed the stuff that we knew they were gonna show, sure, it would have been cool. Like, oh yeah, you get to see Last of Us Part 2 again, and da, 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 da. But wouldn't have, you want to see something that's a bit more kind of fresh, and you like what's actually new that's coming from this company, kind of thing.
Right.
And that was one of the criticisms. If you remember, like if you go back to our maiden group chat discussion, that was about E3, and we were kind of talking about how while Microsoft's show was enjoyable, it's nothing really out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really like, oh my god, wow, jaw hit the floor kind of thing. It was just it was okay, So like maybe if Sony was there, it would have been just okay as well. So I mean, I'm excited at what the future is gotten planned for, like any of the companies, not just Sony.
Right.
So I've got this kind of baseline optimism. Goodness, my language. Optimism, no matter what. Like with all the companies. But obviously, in light of recent stuff, like Chris said, with crossplay and this, that, and the other, you do have to kind of be cautiously optimistic. And I think that's probably where many people, I wouldn't say most people, but quite a few people probably are at that point where they're cautiously optimistic. They're like, okay, let's see what it's like. And, it's good if they're going to be at Gamescom and what was the other one again? It
TGS,
was Tokyo Game Show. Yeah. So if they're going to be there, then I'm sure they have something interesting to show. So
I would hope so.
Let's wait and see. Yeah.
The side note, not super important on this, but they're also going to be at a Chinese show as well. I can't remember the exact name of the conference, but they're going to be there as well. So I'm not sure what's really going on over there at Sony, but I think again the dry spell is kind of going to end once we hit 2020.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for PSX, but if PSX doesn't happen, we're definitely going to see it in January, February for the announcement. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think we're kind of at the point where it's like they need to there's some things they need to work on. Otherwise, they're going to have a rough launch with the PS5.
Super rough.
And we really don't want that. They're fighting the losing battle of crossplay. We didn't discuss it, but I saw it come up earlier in the week. Borderlands 3 is not going to have crossplay at launch. Apparently, there's something they need. The way Randy Pitchford phrased it is that basically that it's not going to be ready at launch, but they want to do it and they plan on doing it, which leads me to believe that Sony was just like, maybe, probably not. We'll see. I think what it is...
Yeah, we'll see, yeah.
I think Sony is very concerned about people pre-ordering games on Xbox and being able to play it with their friends on PlayStation. And so I think you'll probably see these things where like games aren't crossplay with PlayStation at launch, but a couple months later they are. You know, basically
Super shady,
when
dude.
it's worthless, when it's beyond the point, you know.
Yeah. When you can't get your money back for pre-ordering on one platform. It's
Pretty
like,
much.
oh, goodness.
And so I'm very interested to kind of see how that goes going forward. But anyways, I'm gonna let Chris take us to the last piece of news. That is quite a big bundle.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's get on this. Microsoft, what are you up to? Are you trying to replicate the situation that you got yourself into with the release of the Xbox One? That means, basically, are you trying to be greedy? Here's why we say this. Gears 5 is getting different microtransactions than Gears 4. Gears 5 won't feature loot boxes like the Gears 4 had card packs, but instead will ask for your money up front like Gears 3. New characters will impact gameplay, the developer's state, and so the characters will be purchasable with game currency or real-world money. Maps and escape hives will all be released for free. Players will be able to purchase items they want with premium currency. And of course, aside from that, another exclusive, Sea of Thieves, is getting microtransactions. Rare had mentioned the intention of adding a store into the game prior to launch. However, the developer has pushed it back due to many other issues that plague the game at launch and thereafter. The store will feature interactive pets, no loot boxes, and other items that will not offer power advantages. The developer mentions that it is, quote, a way to generate additional revenue as we continue to run it as a service.
Interesting stuff.
It's not.
It's interesting, but it's not fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think any game as a service, it needs to have something in there. Like, even if it's complete, I mean, it's inconsequential, you know, if it's not affecting gameplay at the kind of core mechanical level, then I suppose fine, whatevs, you know what I'm saying? But but it's just, you know, I think a microtransaction has just become a very dirty word. You know, it's become
right.
And I don't know. I'm okay with a microtransaction being in the game as long as it doesn't. Like, the thing is, microtransactions in, say, Assassin's Creed, for example. I've never used a microtransaction in Assassin's Creed, at least the modern ones, right? So, like, okay, like, they're there, but it's not affecting me. And then some people argue, oh, but it normalizes it.
Right.
You know, if you don't mind it, you're normalizing it. And it's like, but dude,
well, define
like,
normalize.
This is not as in normalize it, as in if it's making a company money and it gets no resistance from the gamers, from the community, then developers are going to keep doing it as a way to make money, even if they've already got the $60 from the purchase, kind of thing. So it's like Ubisoft have had microtransactions in since I think what was it? They had them.
They've had them for
Assassin's Creed 4
for a long time.
They've had them for a while in their games. Yeah, it's a very long time. But I was just saying, like, in single player games, they've had, like, Assassin's Creed 4. You had microtransactions for the single player element in terms of the time saver packs for people who don't want to go out and explore and get all these resources to upgrade their ship, for example. Same goes for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, I personally haven't used it, but people have. And when people do, they spend the money. And when they spend the money, Ubisoft makes more profit. And if Ubisoft makes profit, and they're not, and people like me aren't bothered by it, people who don't use it,
they're gonna all of a sudden try and introduce it in other areas. That was where EA failed with trying to treat Battlefront 2 like they treat FIFA.
Yeah,
right. They went too far with it, and that's it. Not to summarize what Billy was saying, but the kind of mindset that they apply to it is, if you're not against it, you're for it. Which isn't true.
Yeah.
You know, if you have no opinion on it, that's an opinion. It's a separate opinion in and of itself.
Yeah.
My concern is I want to phrase this to you guys in maybe a different way, because this was my viewpoint. It's something we haven't discussed until this point. So I wanted to save this as kind of a talking point for you guys. My issue with these microtransactions and why this is different, in my opinion, than previously, specifically with Sea of Thieves, is because these games are in Game Pass. That's what I pay you for. I already am paying you for that. I'm paying for it as a service. I'm already paying you $10 a month or whatever, you know, to have access to this game. So, you know, even We did the math. The math is out there in case you haven't seen it. But basically, if you're a person who doesn't buy more than 2 games a year, a lot of these aren't worth your while. But if you're only buying 1 game a year, but you pay for Game Pass every month, it's worthwhile for them because then they're making an extra $60. So the average is that these people are they're making money. You don't sell a product if you're not going to make profit off of it. That's just how it works. Nobody offers products for goodwill. So I don't have a problem with that, but it's like they introduced microtransactions in Gears 4. They put them in Gears 5. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were there any in Halo 4 that you guys know of? Because I don't recall there being any.
I didn't play
Halo
Gears.
4.
I'm sorry, Halo 4.
Halo. I don't think in Halo 4.
Yeah,
Halo 5.
Halo 5 had
Yes.
the requisition packs, but no, not Halo 4.
Yeah, they were terrible.
One of my friends who will remain unnamed for the time being, he legit spent like $500 on rec.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It wasn't all at once, though.
Yeah,
obviously.
it's like
ridiculous.
$3 here, $5 here, $10 there. It's usually how it goes.
Exactly. It adds up, and before you know it, and this is all. And he doesn't play Halo 5 anymore. Like, and it's so crazy. It's so wild to think. You could start playing Sea of Thieves or any other game with microtransactions. You could drop a whole bunch of money in it, and then like 2-3 years later, and it's like, but that's like $500 that you've just put in a game.
Right.
It's crazy when you think about it. There's so many. I mean, I'm a bit torn, right? Because from a developer's point of view, you do kind of, if it's genuine, like if it's a genuine case of we need to kind of maximize the profit that this game is making, right? Or we need to do this because it helps us kind of sink the money back into the project or the development or the updates and all that kind of stuff. Fine, fair enough. But there's no way for us to know that. You know what I'm saying? There's no way for us to kind of verify that information and be like, oh yeah, they're sinking the money back into development. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're upgrading this, they're upgrading that.
I mean, if you look at average game prices, they really haven't dropped. The only even close example I've seen was what Epic Games did with Metro Exodus, making it $10 cheaper when it came to the Epic Games Store.
Yeah.
But they've compensated for that with the microtransactions in a lot of cases and season passes and things like that. Yeah. That's kind of where they compensate for inflation, which is something that, not everybody is honest about when they have this conversation. So that my major thing is that the Coalition and Rare are very different from Ubisoft developers, right? In terms of the structure of the company they belong to. Ubisoft makes games. That's all Ubisoft does, as far as I'm aware. They're helping produce some TV shows and stuff based off stuff they own, but for the most part, they just fund games. You're a part of Microsoft, who owns the most prominent, operating system in the entire world, and has a plethora of products that, whatever. So in my mind, you can easily be subsidized. In my mind. You know what I mean? It's not like Microsoft's going to be like, oh, we're losing $500,000 a year on Sea of Thieves. Nobody's going to really give a shit about that. You know what I mean? Versus
in terms of the whole kind of pool of money that Microsoft has available,
right?
That 500 million or not 500, 500,000 on Sea of Thieves is nothing.
And I'm just saying, let's just say it's 500,000 to pay those people for the next 2 years. Hypothetically.
Yeah.
It's probably more than that. It's probably closer to like $1.5 million or something, right?
Yeah. But that's an easy subsidy for Microsoft. Like they won't even sweat and be able to give that money.
Right, exactly. And even then, okay, so let's compensate for that. You have Xbox Live Gold, you have Game Pass, and you have Ultimate. That's $15 a month. You have an install base of roughly 30 million was the last time we kind of heard. And I can't remember what the active user was on Xbox Live Gold last. Let's be generous and say a third of people own Xbox Live Ultimate, right?
Yeah.
So that's what, 1.5 million a month they're making.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could use and subsidize some of their games so that they don't need microtransactions in them. Is ultimately my point,
No. You got that's a fair point. I mean, the maths definitely does add up in the way that supports the idea. It's just one. I mean, there's never enough money for big corporations. That's just a reality that people. I mean, even people, people don't. If we're gonna get a little bit philosophical here, but people don't kind of ever tire of having too much money. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. A big corporation, whether it's Sony, whether it's Microsoft, they. It's not about we made a profit. We're not breaking even. We made a profit. Fine, boom. I'm moving on, kind of thing. It's more a case of how do we keep making profits,
right?
Or how do we maximize the profits that we're making off this product? If that means cutting corners, if that means microtransactions, they'll do it. You know, so it's just, I suppose it's I hate to say this. I'm not condoning it. I don't want to sound like I'm condoning it, but it's kind of part and parcel of a big corporation,
right?
Where you have to expect it.
How do we?
Whether it's Ubisoft, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Sony, they're going to be introducing things like this because it makes them money.
Right.
That's the
money.
most important thing for them. Yeah, the most important thing for them is making money.
And I don't necessarily begrudge them for that. That's what they're there to exist for. That's what they do. They provide a service to you or a product, and they make money, right? So my issue is that it's. I think this argument's going to come up more as we start to see the subscription model play in. It almost and this, I'm not saying this is what they're doing. I'm just saying that it's something that I think will be an argument point in the future. Is okay. So now you've bought our subscription model. So you have access to all of our games. Poor us, we need to subsidize the fact that we're giving you all of these games. So we need you to buy the microtransactions. So we're going to push them harder. So we're going to try to funnel you after you've already paid us. You're paying us every month to get these transactions, which is, I think, a different argument than the argument we've been having around microtransactions, which is, I bought this $60 game. Why do I have to pay you more for the stuff inside of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm already paying you for continual upkeep. So, that's what I'm paying you for. I'm paying you every month to keep access to this game. The second I stop paying you the Xbox Live Game Pass, I don't have access to your game anymore. That's not the case when I buy a $60 game. My license just doesn't go away if I don't pay you $60 every year.
No, but if it gets taken off the store, you don't have it anymore.
Right.
Like, because there are games where they're like, yeah, guess what? You own the license to the game, but if we take the game off our service,
right, it's no longer there.
Case in point, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2.
Yeah, that did happen.
They got taken off the store. Yeah, they lost the licenses. The developers lost the license to the game, so they had to be pulled off the store. I mean, you can see it in the store, but it says this product is unavailable.
Yep.
One of my buddies, again, he had it in his library. It just disappears. So
because you can't even download it usually. Like you can't download it anymore once they pull it from the store.
Oh yeah.
So I guess my concern is just that they try to funnel people into microtransactions going forward. I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm saying I think it's a decent concern to have because we've seen that Ubisoft and all of them could, be interested in that. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything else you really want to discuss about it? I think we pretty much beat it to a pulp here, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's microtransactions are microtransactions. Everyone has an opinion on it.
Yeah, of course.
So
always highlight.
I suppose just it's it's just one of those things. It's always gonna be a hot button topic, I think.
Sure.
Take it away, Billy.
Okay, so definitely try to check us out at least once a week, as that's how often we try to do this. And you might like what you find. I promise you will. So I've been ambassador.
That's creepy.
I thought
you
it
might
was
like
nice.
you might like what you find, and I promise you will. That sounds creepy. I guess I'm Ambassador Chris. I'm a creeped out Ambassador Chris.
Wonderful. I'm Ambassador Michael, and hopefully our show continues to stay on the internet. All right, goodbye, friends.
See ya.